You're watching a TGM production. Hello and welcome back to Tom's Comedy Club. Yes, we are back on Tom's Comedy Club doing another wonderful One Comedian 8 questions. And this time, I can't remember if I've done this before, so you might want to guess if I'm wrong, but this time might be the very first one that I have done during the Fringe. Normally I do it before the Fringe, but this time I'm doing it during, which is even more incredible. On everyone's part, to be fair, because that means we can promote the Edinburgh Fringe right up to the moment it happens. And so, without further ado, we have our guests. But first, the admin I forgot to mention is that there's a brand new episode of the podcast, What Happened to Albert Falport, is up now. He gives a little bit of a life update of what he's up to and some interesting news that might be inspired by an episode of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. But you'll have to listen to find out. It's probably not as exciting as I make it sound, but that is life. But we do crack on. My guest today is best known as a comedian, an all-round amazing person. It's wonderful, Susan Harrison!
Hello, hiya, how you doing? Hello.
And so, we shall spin the wheel for the first time, and let's find out how long it takes me to forget what number we're on. Let's spin that wheel! The catchphrase I thought I got rid of, but I brought it back on the Wheel of Fortune. So, what is the one thing you regret about your first time doing stand-up comedy?
Oh, wow. Well, the first time I did stand-up comedy, I did it as a character called Jenny Benton Smith, who was a 15-year-old kid. And I regret wearing such a warm, woolly hat. That was what her signature costume was, like this woolly hat with like headphones built in, which looked good, but it was way too warm when you're like panicking and nervous about your first gig. So that
Yeah,
was my regret. Costume choice.
yeah. And do you think it was harder to try and represent that you were an age that you weren't?
Well, back in those days, it was actually quite easy because I'm really small. So actually, when I was in my 20s, I did look mega young. So it was not difficult at all. Yeah, it'd be harder now, but back in the day, because I'm only like 4'11", so people were like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah. And at what point did you decide to try and do stand-up as yourself?
Well, I mean, I'm mostly just characters still, to be honest. So yeah, I'm still like the show I'm doing in Edinburgh now is a character comedy show. I just have a little moment of me in the middle of it because I wanted to sort of bring a few little themes together. Um, and but yeah, so I suppose 2018 was the first time I did bits of myself within a character show.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm mostly other people.
yeah. And do you think it's more, do you think that makes you feel more confident when you know that you can play these characters and inject yourself? You know that by the time it's you, you're more confident in that setting.
Yeah. Yes, I do actually. I think that's bang on. Yeah. Especially in this show because also when I'm by the time I'm me in the middle of it, they've already met these characters and they've seen like the scope of weirdness. Um, so then it makes more sense when I'm sort of referencing my life as a sort of freelance uh, comedian and how strange it is
Yeah,
in some respects. So yeah, I think that's true.
yeah. And do you think using the word weird, do you reckon that represents your style of comedy?
It's definitely an element of it. I think maybe the overriding thing is playful,
Yeah,
because all my shows are quite playful, and because I do a lot of improv, I love like playing with the audience and stuff. So probably playful is the main word, and then maybe weird in brackets in a
yeah,
smaller font.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's find out what question number two is and spin that wheel. And again, I forgot what the other catchphrase was. That's my own fault. Um, so, how far in advance do you book the venue and the overall place for your fringe show?
For Edinburgh,
Yeah,
um, Yeah, it's pretty early. I think it was January, or maybe it was early February. Yeah, it all kind of kicks off a long way in advance because then you have to start thinking about like the work in progress shows and trying out material for those. So everything has to be done way in advance. So it does slightly take over your year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure.
And do you decide if you're going to Edinburgh the moment you've finished the Edinburgh show you were doing, or do you wait a few months before you decide if you're doing it again?
Good question. Well, I've had a big gap. So my last solo show before this was 2018. So I had a massive gap and I was like pleased to have a gap and sort of, financially, but also just other stuff. So that took me a long time to decide to do it again. And this time I don't know, like it could go either way. I could do my last show and be like, right, that's it. Never doing that again. Or I might be immediately thinking, yeah, let's carry on the momentum. So yeah, check back in with me on the 25th.
Yeah.
We'll
And
see.
do you think planning it so far in advance, do you think that gives you a good idea of, I think I know what I want to do, and it
Mhm.
help you to give you a deadline of when you need to have this done by?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Especially with this show, because I didn't really know. I knew I really wanted to make a show and I knew sort of what I wanted it to be, but I didn't know what all the components would be. So it really, really helped to have a lead-in time so that I could do all these work in progresses. And, some of the characters I had originally don't exist anymore, and then new ones have come in. And so, yeah, lots of changes have been made. So it really helps to have all that time for sure.
And do you think
Mm.
as a freelancer having this deadline, do you think that that sort of helps you creatively? Do you think that helps?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I am someone that does make work quite a lot, even if, I make quite a lot of self-generated work, but it always helps having deadlines. And yeah, definitely. And it kind of like focuses everything and means that you just work really, really hard because you know it's going to be shown at this massive festival. So it can't be rubbish. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we move on to question number 4. And I don't know why I spun my finger around because no one can see my finger movements. Let's see. Ooh. When was the first time you called yourself a comedian?
Ooh, really late, a lot later than lots of people, to be honest. Probably only in the last few years,
Hmm.
which is mad. But and then because I do a lot of improv as well, and but because I don't do like straight pure stand up, it took me a while to call myself a comedian. I didn't know if I was allowed to. Um, but then I noticed other people were calling themselves comedians when they like just did improv. I was like, oh, I do more than that. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to start claiming this name now. So yeah, it took me, yeah, way longer than most people. I was just really, I don't know, I think I was just a bit sort of like shy or, because I wasn't, yeah, just because I wasn't doing pure stand up,
Yeah.
thought I wasn't allowed to. But now I realize that, yeah, totally. If you're making people laugh on stage with stuff you've written, then, you are doing comedy.
And in your own personal opinion, because I know that if you ask millions of others, they'll say something different. But in your opinion, what do you think is the criteria to be able to say, yes, I am a comedian? What do you think that criteria is?
I guess it is writing and performing your own material, um, which is designed to make people laugh.
Mm.
I think that's probably it. You know, because there are some like really, really funny, beautiful, one person plays, but the pursuit of what they're doing or the outcome is not necessarily just to make people laugh. It might be something else to do with exploring the narrative or something else entirely. So I think it is, yeah, if you are setting out to make people laugh, if that's your like primary objective and you're getting up on stage on your own with stuff you've written, then I think you're a comedian.
Yeah, and do you think that sort of then helps to represent who you are rather than just saying you someone just goes on stage and makes people go ha ha ha?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a much easier way
Yeah,
to describe what you are. Yeah, especially because I have like lots of different components to what I do. So I do character comedy, but I also do improv comedy, and then I also write. So yeah, I think it's helpful just to have that all-encompassing thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
do you think that sort of helps because you do so much and a lot of other comedians do other avenues? Do you think that helps saying that you're a comedian because that means that you do what or everything in that what's in that genre, not just a certain type of comedy?
Yeah, I think so. It's good to have that umbrella term, and it kind of shows that you're not just doing random things for the sake of it. Like the overall objective is, yeah, is, as you say, to make people go, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that calling yourself comedian is probably the only job title where it could work in multiple different ways because you can't call yourself a lawyer if you don't do the normal type of lawyer, and if you do like pet lawyer, and you can't
Yeah.
call yourself a lawyer. So I think that that's what works in the comedy industry, that you've got one term that
Mm.
some people can add other words to it, but that term still works and it works for everyone, not just that section of people. Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's great. And I think people should be able to sort of, yeah, kind of call themselves what they want, I guess. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I don't even know if a pet lawyer exists. So if they do exist, wow, that'll be incredible. And that'll be an amazing comedy character, just someone that dresses up as a pet, like a dog, but they're actually a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, called no, okay, I'm not gonna come up with a name. So let's spin the before we go down a really odd rabbit hole of human dog hybrids. Let's spin the wheel and find out what the next question is because I've already forgot what number we're on, but who cares? Not well, I do care. I create the format. So how? Oh, we've already had that one. Let's spin the wheel again. It repeats. It never happens, and when it does, it throws me off. What is your main ambition for your overall comedy career?
Ooh. Well, I guess it's to write and perform in a sitcom, which actually I've kind of, me and my writing partner, who's a brilliant comedy writer performer called Lucy Trud, she and I have already written a sitcom, and we wrote one for radio, which had a pilot, but then we've written a different one, which we filmed um, a kind of pilot slash taster. So that's being edited now, which is very exciting.
Yeah,
So I guess my overall dream would be for the two of us to have um, three series of that and a movie.
yeah.
Which is, that's all right, isn't it? Not much to ask.
Wait, when you say sitcom, are we talking about the traditional studio sitcom, or are we on about the avant-garde sitcom like the Ralph, like a non-audience based sitcom?
Oh yeah. Well, it's not avant-garde, but it is non-audience based. So it's a mockumentary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So so that's exciting. And we'll be putting little clips of that out hopefully in well, I don't know, maybe like September onwards. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that from experience of attempting to do it, I think mockumentaries are the hardest form of sitcom. And do you think that that's harder on a filming aspect, or do you think that's harder from a writing aspect?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there are challenges with the writing aspect because we have had to have a good think about like what the mockumentary maker's point of view is, you know, what how they feel about the people in it and how big or small their role is. But that's been really like a really great, interesting challenge. And we've been working with a really great director called Ben Fogg, and he's been like filming it, but also providing the voice of the mockumentary maker. And yeah, it seems to be clicking so far. But I agree that is an extra challenge for sure.
And why do you think that in recent years we've had a resurgence of the mockumentary format? Why do you think that
Mm,
now it's more popular than it would have been when The Office came out?
yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I wonder if it's partly because it's like less expensive than some other types of sitcom.
Yeah,
Um, and it might also be because it kind of lends itself to quite a truthful, authentic feel. And I feel like audiences like that at the moment. Yeah, maybe. What do you think?
well, I think you can sort of see where the you can see that you get into more of the characters. Like This Country is a great example. Is you
Mm.
sort of know those characters in and out, but,
Mhm.
but you might understand the setting and all this, but you get to know the characters a lot more than, let's say, the royal family. Even you know them, you don't know them as well as
Yeah.
you know these characters. And do you think that's a positive? Because it means that if once you've done your mockumentary, you then can use these characters elsewhere because they're not in a like they're in an outside world, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And you do, as you say, you do get to really know them. And I think also it enables, as a performer as well, it enables you to show a few layers, like how they are when they are trying to put a face on in front of the camera, and then those moments that the camera catches when they don't realize they're being filmed. And yeah, so I think it does allow you to get to know the character in quite a detailed way, which is brilliant. Yeah.
And do you think that works really well for you as a performer because you can go, well, here's the character, but here's what the character's like when they're trying to perform for the camera, and
Mm.
you've got two mindsets of you know who they are, but then you also know what they would like. Do you think that's more interesting for you as a performer?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it's great. You can have so much fun with that. Those little moments when they're trying to portray themselves in a certain way to the camera. And yeah, no, it's and the character that I'm playing in it is very like very concerned with her public persona. So that is really fun because you can do a lot of her sort of playing up to the camera and then seeing her in little moments when she's being really herself. But yeah, so as a performer, that's great.
Yeah. And so, on that note, let's spin the wheel once more for what I assume is question number five, but might not be. Who knows? Let's find out what it's gonna be. And we've had a repeat. Let's spin it again. Spin it again. La 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 la. Woo. How old were you when you realised you were very funny?
Oh, well, I knew I was getting laughs like when I was in, in school plays and stuff, or like local Amdram. But I didn't really know I was funny until maybe until I went to drama school, and we did a lot of improv in our first term. And in my report, like my sort of drama school report at the end, said like compared me to Alexei Sale, which is such an unexpected comparison, and not a comparison you expect when you go to like a traditional drama school.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. This drama school teacher has compared me to a really funny comedian that is so different from me.
Yeah.
So I think that was the moment. So yeah, I was probably like 18 or 19.
And do you think that shows that style of comedy from Alexis and his gang has like thrown ripples into the world of not just comedy but in acting in general? Do you think that that's a
Mm.
positive thing because it shows that the lecturers and the teachers that are trying to encourage the next generation
Mm.
have worked out what's changed not just in the acting world but in the comedy world as well?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how up on it they all would be, but this person was also a playwright.
Yeah,
And his plays were very dark, but they were very funny as well. So I
yeah,
think maybe he had like an extra eye on the ball in terms of
yeah,
comedy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can see that as a good thing because you know that the way they're going to teach is going to be in this unique way, and you know that that might be that you might not know in that moment, but it might influence you. Do you think that helps having
Mm.
teachers in drama schools like that understand a lot more than you would assume a traditional drama school teacher would know?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think, the more like knowledge that they have of stuff outside the traditional realms of acting, the better, really, because it all feeds in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I think that it helps represent that acting can be this really funny thing, but it could also be William Shakespeare and all
Yeah.
very long sentences. And I think that it helps to bridge the gap because then someone can go, well, we did that in drama school. Let's make that even funnier than what
Mm.
William Shakespeare did, because everyone knows what comedy is now. And do you think that's a positive thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think comedy is so, it's just so brilliant in every respect, and sort of makes everything better. So yeah, I think if someone's learning to act, then if you can tap into comedy as well, then you'll probably be a better actor.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the more of it, the better, really.
And so we shall spin the wheel again for the next question, and eventually I will clock on to what question we're on, not episode. Um, or let's spin the wheel again because I need to spin it a lot faster, it seems, because it repeated ourselves. Let's find out what it'll be next. And let's spin it again. See, that's what happens when you have a wheel of many questions. They repeat more than once. Ooh. How did you get into the world I call comedy?
Well, I was doing a play, and it was a 10-month tour of a it was called Bad Girls. It was a Jacqueline Wilson
Oh yeah.
adaptation. And we started messing around in the wings. We got a bit bored with our characters, and so backstage and in the wings we developed additional characters.
Yeah.
uh, and we just had such a laugh, and off the back of that we kept in touch, some of us, and we started a sketch group
Yeah.
that was sort of parodying shows like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent,
Yeah.
which were kind of new at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how I got into comedy, is just through forming a sketch group with some friends that I'd met on this play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that led to everything else.
Yeah. And do you think that, like, trying to make jokes out of those type of shows, do you think that was a lot easier because Simon Cowell is very easy to take the mickey out of?
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot easier, especially back then, because now it would be quite sort of like a bit hack, but at the time, because they were new, these shows, it was it was easier. And we were also just having fun with the idea of like different contestants and why they want to be there, and
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah, and they've got the format going where each contestant, some of them have these like really horrific stories that make no sense to why they're doing this thing, or they might have a really horrific song, but then the story's so good that they get through because they've got they've got a really bad singing voice, but they've got the most devastating story that they feel so.
Yeah.
And I think that it makes it easy to, do you think that if you did that now, it would be a lot harder because there's not as many of them, and the acts take it more seriously than they once did?
Yeah, I think it would be a lot harder now. Also, because I feel like it's been done, and also, I don't know, like now reality TV has become so extreme that it's a lot harder to parody it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not impossible at all, but it's more of a challenge than it was.
Yeah, and I think that you see that when you see the sketches on that Comic Relief where Dawn French plays Claudia Winkleman with different fringes and they're having a curtain for the fringe to make it more comical. And do you think that sketch is thriving more on stage than it is on TV? Do you think there's more sketch groups in the circuit than there is on British TV?
Yeah, I think probably, yeah, more sketch groups and more character comedians, because British TV is so reluctant to commission anything really, but they're particularly reluctant to commission a lot of sketch because it is seen as more expensive because of needing multiple locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's way more on the live circuit.
Yeah, and I know I keep on mentioning this, but it's the most weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I think that what makes sketch more interesting is you can do pretty much anything. So my favourite sketch from the BBC channel BBC Ulster, which is Scottish Gaelic, it's where they've got this bloke, and his brother is Donald Trump, but they both speak Gaelic. So it's a sense of he can bringing each other up, and he's talking in Gaelic, and it's really weird.
Yeah.
None of the rest of it links up. None of it's political, other than the fact that Donald Trump just keeps appearing, talking in this.
That's really funny. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, and it makes it more interesting because you see that even though the BBC might not be making it for BBC One, Two, Three, and whatever, they are still making sketch for BBC Oliver, and they are still doing it for BBC. And you think that that's a positive because it means that certain category, people still have a chance to make sketch, and it'll
Mm.
show the BBC and it'll show companies that this is viable.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, as if anyone making it anywhere and anyone commissioning it anywhere is a brilliant thing. And yeah, as you say, it does then prove that there is an audience for it, and there is an appetite for it.
Yeah. And do you think that having a new Mitchell and Webb show, do you think that on Channel 4 on prime time, do you think that that's going to make companies go, we really do need to make more sketches with these other comedians because from the cast list,
Mm.
they've got newer comedians that haven't done sketch TV before. Do you think that that will help advance that area of the industry?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's a brilliant lineup of people. They're all excellent. The people on that are going to be on that. So yeah, I'm sure that will help. And I really enjoyed Mitchell and Webb's original sketch shows as well. Back in the day. So I'm sure that'll be a really good program.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully it will show people that we still need to make more of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sketches are the pinnacle of you can have this one idea and you can then do it, and that's the thing that sketch really works is you might have an idea, but it might not be big enough or long enough for a long form thing, but it'd be good for 15 to 20 minutes or whatever. And do you think that that's the positive of sketches, that you can have these short burst ideas that you can then just represent in these ideas?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, because I quite like weird one-off ideas myself,
Yeah.
that wouldn't, yeah, as you said, that like wouldn't sustain like a big, huge narrative arc or anything. So yeah, being able to just explore one premise and then heighten it and just have a bit of fun with it is great. Yeah.
And so, on that note, let's spin the wheel for the next question, and eventually I will know what number we're on, and eventually something will happen. Let's find out, and let's spin the wheel again. It loves repeating itself today. That's the odds. That's why you don't do gambling, because anything could happen. When you look at a wheel that keeps repeating itself, it loves repeating itself. Oh, when you're doing a work in progress, do you walk on stage with a notebook, or are you the type of person that has it all stuck in your head?
Yeah, I'm the latter. Yeah, I that makes it quite hard actually. It makes the work in progress quite hard because then part of what I'm doing is like a memory test. So it's a bit stupid, really. I probably should have a notebook, but there's part of me because I'm doing characters, I want them to be like fully formed.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was just me, it'd be easy to be like, oh, that didn't work, etc. But because I'm trying to do a fully formed character, yeah, I try and have it all up here and then hope for the best.
And do you think because it's a character that you want fully formed, as you said, does that make it harder for you to do these work programs because you're like, I need to get this character perfect, and then
Yeah.
trying to work out what bits don't work? Do you think that's harder for you because you're in the mindset of this character rather than thinking, oh, that bit didn't work or that element of the character might not work?
Yeah, I think it is a bit harder. It's also just harder because I'm a perfectionist. So I find work in progress is quite painful. Yeah, but then afterwards, and even during actually, I can definitely tell like, oh, that's not working, that's not working. I just can't reference it,
Yeah.
but I can tell inside.
Yeah, and once you've got the name and the sort of like the core idea of the character, is the hardest bit coming up with what costume you could do where it works in multiple different occasions and not trying to work out, oh, I only need one costume rather than having multiple because you want this character to have multiple scope.
No, I don't find that tricky actually. I really enjoy the sort of costume props element of it all. So for me, sometimes that even might come first.
Yeah.
I had this one character years ago and I just found these jeans in a charity shop that like had a really, really weird long zip and a really high waistband. And I put them on and it just made me walk in a funny way. And that was the sort of genesis of that particular character. So yeah, so for me, all the costume and stuff is the really fun bit. I love doing all that.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think for me, when I create these odd characters, I think the easiest bit to do is come up with the name right? I think personally that it's a name. Once you've got the name, you can assume it's some clever pun and you've worked it out. And then the issue for me is trying to work out A, what they're going to wear, and B, how I'm going to disguise the voice so it doesn't sound like anyone else. So I think that I think that it works really well having your costume sorted first because then you've got a better idea. Do you think that having the costume makes you think, well, I now know some of the physical aspects of it. I now need to work out the mental side. Do you think that that helps save time on trying to develop this character?
Yeah, it can do. I think everyone works in different ways. I'm quite a visual person, so yeah, it definitely helps me to imagine what they might look like or how they might move first, and then work backwards. But then sometimes I'll start with a voice. So, like, I have a character in my show that is a panda, but she sounds like Liam Gallagher. So that started, more with the kind of voice and the
Yeah.
attitude of Liam. And it's like, what if a panda had the attitude of a Gallagher? So I think there's loads of different routes in, and it's, finding what works for you, sort of thing.
Yeah. And do you think doing that character now, do you think that makes your show more, let's say more relevant because of the air of the sense of the
Yeah.
Oasis turning up to make Edinburgh more crowded than it needed to be?
Yeah, it does this month for sure. And actually, I think they're here tonight, as in not at my show, as in like, they're doing their show in Edinburgh tonight. So yeah, it'll be very relevant this evening. Yeah.
And this is going off to a slight tangent before we move on, but I remember hearing on the oddest program possible, Sunday Brunch, that Tim Mitchin, I don't know if you've heard this story, but Tim Mitchin was performing at wherever he was performing, some smaller venue, Oasis, like 3 doors down. And so he decided to sing Wonderwall. I don't know what Oasis was singing in that moment in time, but he thought it's really relevant. So he sang a bit Wonderwall before he decided that I'll give it up just in case they get upset because there was someone else playing next door to him. So it's like the three of them, and he's then decided, let's just not do my material, let's just do Oasis's work. And I think that that makes it more funnier because he's like, you
Mhm.
know that he's doing this just because no one got a ticket to Oasis and they all really wanted Oasis tickets. And
Yeah,
and do you think that makes it more funnier when a comedian reacts to something that's happening there and then?
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Anything that happens in the moment or that is happening that day, I think is great. I think the audience really like it because they feel like it's just, they might feel like it's kind of unique to them, or well, just because everyone's aware of it, so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so let's spin the wheel to find out what our next question is. And once I've spun the wheel, I'll work out what number we're on because I've forgotten to count. Um, at least I knew what number one was. So, what do you think, in your own personal opinion, because many people might have other opinions on this, what do you think the future of comedy looks like?
Wow, big question. um, well, I guess a lot of it is self-generated, isn't it? I think that's going to carry on and just get more and more the case. Like self-generated in terms of people making some people make amazing sketches online now on TikTok and Instagram. Um, and then also stand-ups and comedians who sort of film their own shows and put it out that way rather than going through a network.
Yeah.
So I think the future of it does look like pretty self-generated, and yeah. What do you think?
I think that even though we're heading to this ultra digital world, I think that the more people that embrace it digitally will be able to then take that live. I think it will help the live sync because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people have said this in many different forms, and a lot of them have said it to me. Is that even though they might think, oh yeah, they'll sell out millions of seats, they might not be the best at a live situation, but what it shows is that live anything, live theatre, live comedy, live whatever, works really well and he's still thriving. And I think that that's a positive. So the more you get online, the more people watch these things, and then the more they go out taking on tour, help
Mm.
venues and help things. And do you think that that will be the positive? Is that even
Mm.
though at the moment it might like some venues are running out the money and need the funding, do you think having all this traction online and taking it to this stage will help these venues regain the sort of level that they might have had at once upon a time.
Yeah, I think that's true. And yeah, I feel optimistic in that sense as well. I definitely think that's true because a lot of comedians who have a big online following have managed to harness that and turn it into encouraging people to see their live shows, which is so brilliant. And also, I think people really, really love live stuff now. Like even more so, like the more that sort of AI and everything is kind of you know, looming,
Yeah.
the more people are valuing like proper human live interaction and in a room that you can't sort of, you know, you can't like fake. So yeah, I think that is true.
Yeah, and when you say that AI is blooming, you can sort of see that it's happening because it's now invaded the one of the greatest weird bands of all time, the Wurzels. They've now embraced said AI with their song "Wurzle Me Up," which you can clearly tell is AI, or else it'd be really odd if they've got a sheep disco dancing. Uh, I hope that's the AI at least. And you can sort of see that AI is taking over. But when you look at the example that I can give, where someone made it online really well, but then did really well on the stage, I've not seen the stand-up show, but from what I can tell, it was a success. In Max Fosh, because from his background, he tried stand-up beforehand, so he had that stage experience before YouTube made him a success and made him the next whatever genre of comedy he would call himself as, the next weird inventor. And I think that shows that some people are excellent in it because they've got that background, and some other people might need to have that background beforehand. Do you think that that's the next step for these online people that assume they can just go on tour immediately? Do you think their next step is to try out the stuff first in clubs before they take it on tour?
Mm. I think that, yeah, I guess that would probably be helpful, wouldn't it? I mean, but then as you say, like some of them might already have that experience that you just don't know, that we just don't know about, or yeah, but yeah, I do think like trying out stuff in a sort of grassroots way is really helpful.
Yeah.
And and also trying out stuff for an audience that don't know you is really helpful because then you get a very honest response. But I guess that's hard when you're famous.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'd say that's always a good thing to do.
Yeah. And so let's spin on to our what I like to call final question, because I'm assuming we've got to that 8 now, and I'm assuming if I'm wrong, or you can't sue me because it's my own idea. Um, how long does it take you to make your Edinburgh Fringe poster?
Ooh, um, well, my partner made it for me, so
Ooh.
it took me zero time. But it took my partner probably quite a long time. So yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask a proper designery type person about that. Yeah, I don't know. Do you make your own stuff in
Um,
that
I,
respect?
I do, I make pretty much everything on my own. It's probably not
Nice.
the best thing I've ever made, and then you can see the 4 million drafts I made where I've changed it all. But do you think that for you, because you've got someone else to do all the technical stuff, do you think coming up with the idea of how you wanted to represent your show is the hardest bit? Because even though it's not moving and there's nothing to go at, and because not every show has a one word or a one sentence way of explaining what the show is. Do you think that's harder for you as a performer because you have to get the whole point of the show across in the
Mm,
poster without making it too crowded and without making
yes.
it too complicated?
Yeah, yeah, totally. It did take a long time to sort of think about like how silly it should be, how straight it should be, how much I should like I had one version where I'm putting a wig on. Um sort of like that, which was kind of good because it definitely said character, but it didn't look as much like me. And I felt like if I was flyering people, it was good if it sort of was clearly me, if you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
clearly a person with long ginger hair as opposed to like a sort of weird blonde wig. Um, so yeah, those kind of decisions did come into it,
yeah,
and then also, so like this is my poster, and I've got this little blue hooter horn. I'm holding it like a cigarette, and that is something I use in improv. But I just thought it was like a really fun image. But now it's incorporated into my show, so it actually makes sense within the show. So that was quite interesting because that's like a little idea that came from the poster, which then went into the show.
Yeah, and I think that that sort of thing makes it more interesting because you know that there's a certain area of people love honking horns because
Yeah.
it's less aggressive than a car horn.
Mm.
You sound like a clown without having to look like a clown because
Yeah.
some clowns, 95% of them look incredibly like murderers when they're not. They're probably gentle people that wouldn't harm a butterfly but would harm a fly. And do you think that makes it more unique in your aspect because you're going, well, it's me, but this is representative of what I do in a sense of if you know what that object is, you
Mm.
know what it could be used for.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's true. Yeah. And it's very like in keeping with the show as well, because I am, although it's multiple character, I am also in the middle of it making fun of myself for the weird job that I do, and for being a bit of a clown, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's helpful for that.
Yeah. And with the Edinburgh Fringe currently in full flow, what is your Edinburgh Fringe 2025 show all about?
Well, it is called Susan Harrison, Should I Still Be Doing This? And it is a multiple character show with lots of weird and wonderful characters. And it's about um, still doing character comedy and having a kind of weird creative life, freelance life as you get older. So that's the little theme that runs through it. And then they've got these different characters who are very sort of unique. There's a Cindy doll with low self-esteem. There is a woman who's swallowed a girl in a well. Yeah, there's like this sort of Gallagher-esque panda. Um, there's an Australian contortionist. There's all sorts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fun and silly and joyful.
And when you're changing between the characters during the show, have you got any other aspects that bridge those gaps, or are you is your show one of those where you get a dramatic blackout and you can hear the audience getting curious to know what's happening?
No, there is a bit of a bridging gap. Like, so for instance, when I'm the panda, I get an audience member to help me get changed. So yeah, it's not like pure blackout change. It's more like the lighting state changes,
Yeah.
but then I sort of transition into the other character.
And you think that's the hardest thing to do with your show because you've got to think, well, at what point do I need to get into the next costume? Do you think that's harder for you because you've not only got the lines of the person you're playing to remember, you've also got everything else to remember? Do you think that's the hardest thing that you'll end up feeling more natural about halfway through the run?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, those transitions are quite tricky, especially because, like with the panda costume, it's falling apart a bit, so it needs a bit of TLC. So yeah, it's like there's the practical challenge of actually getting your foot in the right leg,
Yeah.
while trying to make it look fun. And yeah, but it's already getting easier. Those bits are already getting a bit smoother. But yeah, I agree, they are definitely quite hard.
And at what time and where can people turn up to watch your madness?
Oh, thank you. At 7:40 p.m. at the Gilded Balloon, Appleton Tower, Pip. Um, it's a new venue for the Gilded Balloon. It's right by George Square if the person watching this knows Edinburgh. And yeah, it's great fun. Just like it's quite interactive, really silly, and it's a good night.
And where can people purchase tickets?
They can purchase tickets at the Gilded Balloon website, or redfringe.com. But Gilded Balloon is better because I think that means the artists get a bit more money.
And and how do you think that your show? Do you think that your show's the type of show that might develop during the course of the festival? Or do you think that you already know what aspects completely work? Because even though you might do a work in pro, you might have a few things that you might like not regret, but might alter? Do you think you're at that stage now that that's going to change, or do you think your show is perfect as it is right now?
No, it's definitely still developing. Yeah. I did sort of come up to the month with what I thought was like pretty much finished, but it's still been changing and developing. And actually, only last night I had a thought of another prop that I wanted to buy. So
Yeah,
yeah, little tiny bits. There's like little tiny discoveries that happen, and because I play with the audience quite a bit, um, things do develop.
yeah,
Yeah, through the month. So yeah, for sure, it's still changing, and I think it's a bit better than it was at the very very
yeah,
start.
yeah. And do you think do you think the only issue you've got with deciding that you want to do character comedy, do you think the only issue is that when you get an idea, then you have to go get this other prop? Do you think that's the only issue you sort of face in that area? Because there's like you get so many ideas and then you've got 30 million props, and then once you've done the idea, you're not too sure what to do with.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've got a cupboard full of props from other shows that I probably should chuck away. I've got like a big gory head, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely. There's a lot of props that I don't need anymore. Yeah.
And it's so when you come up with these ideas and then you realize you've got to face with them. So the example I can give is that in my world, I used to, I still do, but I've never thought of anything as weird as it. I did Taskmaster stuff for other areas, and one of the ones we did was I got them to make historical characters out of rubber ducks. Now I wasn't expected to take any of them with me because they were all if for them, and then they decided to give me them. So now in my cupboards, I've just got random historical characters in rubber duck form. And half the time, I don't remember what they are because it's like a felt cape of some weird thing or some cup attached to it. And I think that's what happens when you come up with these ideas and you have to then live with the fact of, do you actually remember what these are in the future? Do you think that that's the only issue you've got when you buy so many props? Because eventually you'll forget what they were for in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And then there's some that I'll never forget what they're for, but they take up a lot of space. So like I've got a massive Campbell's soup can that I used to come out of as Andy Warhol. So yeah. Yeah.
And do you think that with the Fringe being well what it is, do you think that having it live streamed via Nexus, not every show, but some show streamed by Nexus, do you think that will help to represent what the Fringe is for people that A can't make it or B are a little bit hesitant to do it? Do you think that the
Mm.
next stage of getting new punters to come up or new performers, do you think having that live stream access, do you think that will help people to feel less nervous about the venues and the event?
Yeah, I think it's really good that. I wish that all those shows were live streamed because yeah, I think that's a brilliant way for people to understand what it's all about and get a feel for it for sure. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think that because of how big the Edinburgh Fringe is, because it's not just the Fringe Festival, it's the international festival, it's the book festival, it's the whatever other festivals that Edinburgh can cram into the same month and cram into what looks like. I don't think I've ever been to Edinburgh. I could be wrong on that one, but to me, Edinburgh looks like one giant road. Well, it sounds like it, but it probably isn't. I generally thought Brighton was one road, and then I went to Brighton. I thought
Yeah.
that's actually not just one road. There's multiple other roads.
Yeah.
There's some many places have multiple other roads, but it'll help them to say, well, it's not as crowded as you think there is. It's not as busy and hectic because even though it might look really busy, it's not as daunting. Do you think that's the good thing is that you can
Mm.
tell people it's not as daunting as it might sound or it might look when you watch it on the BBC News?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Edinburgh's an amazing city. It's really beautiful and yeah, for sure, good for people to have like a bit more of an insight into all the different parts of it. Yeah, and to see that some bits are not as crowded, but it is a bit mad. But yeah.
Yeah, and since you were there last time with your last show, how do you think that not just the place itself, but the festival as a whole, how do you think that it's developed since your last show back in 2018?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like it's Well, I think it becomes a bit more commercialized every year. Um, yeah, and obviously a lot of people have already spoken about this, but the accommodation sort of goes up and up in terms of how much it costs.
Yeah,
Um, I think those are the big changes. But then I guess a positive thing is there's a little bit more awareness now about like the well-being of people who come up here, and people's health and mental health and stuff. So there's a bit more understanding around that, I think.
yeah,
I think they're the main changes.
yeah. And do you think that I don't remember his last name, so I'm not going to attempt his name at all, but you'll probably know what I'm on about in a minute. But do you think that having protesting and not going up, but having a show up there to prove the point that it's really expensive, do you think that that's a good thing to do to try and protest the fact that it costs too much and it might
Mm.
be really expensive, or do you think that that's not a way around saying to the fringe owners that it needs to be more affordable?
Yeah, I don't know actually, and I'm not sure if I know. I might not have caught that thing you're referencing. Yeah, I don't know because we all kind of moan about it, but then we all go up and do it anyway.
Yeah,
um, so I'm not really sure what the answer. I mean, I think the answer is one of the answers would be to do with accommodation, wouldn't it? Just
yeah,
if there was a way of the landlords up here being capped at a certain amount or something. But yeah, but then I think if people want to protest something, they should.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what he's doing is he's going up to the Free Fringe, right? And he's performing a show where he's not actually there. So he's
Ah,
one night only, and
right.
it's he's done all the promotion. He's made sure that it's accessible and all the things that it needs to be. He's got
Mm,
posters made, he's got everything up, he's got people flying. He's one night only. He's
mm,
not there. People can come, and he wants people to turn up, and he wants people to review it because the whole point is that it's a protest. But he's not actually there. So it'll be an hour where nothing really happens because he's not there.
right.
That helps too. He's trying to say that it's really expensive to do this, and it needs to be more affordable. But I think what it misses is the fact that he's not there, and I think that might not work as well because now it's all in the press and it's not just happened from the
Mm,
day. It might
mm,
persuade less people to rock up. And I think that might cause a backlash in that idea. But if he did it without telling the press, then that would have probably. Do you
mm,
think that would have worked better if the press had known in
mm.
the first place?
Maybe. Oh, I see. So if they just turned up expecting a show, do you mean?
Yeah, yeah. So they expect
Oh,
the show, and
yeah.
then the signs up saying, "I'm not here." This,
Yeah, maybe that would have been a good sort of stunt. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's interesting though. The whole thing sounds very Edinburgh Fringe.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah. And the one thing that I think that also sounds very Edinburgh Fringe, I was watching Edinburgh Unlocked last night, is the fact that they kept on saying three times that one of the circus acts have got the Wheel of Death. And they've got no safety harnesses for that because apparently on the Wheel of Death you can't have a safety harness, but you can when you do every other act. When you do every other part of the performance, safety is key, but with the Wheel of Death, you can't have any safety. And they kept on saying it. It was about that it said it three times, and that's what makes it really Edinburgh Fringe, in my opinion, is that they managed to say the Wheel of Death three times, and there's no safety three times to say to everyone, yeah, yeah, come and watch us. One of us might get injured. Who knows? But we feel very comfortable. Very comfortable. And I think that that's what also makes Edinburgh Fringe really interesting because you can do these bizarre things and
Yeah.
how get away with it. Do you think that's a positive for the Fringe, having these things that you would sort of think might be a hazard, but really it's just really expertly done?
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a positive having all that. It's just great having a place where sort of anything goes.
Yeah,
You can do all kinds of crazy things, and you can be like a guy dressed as a gorilla sitting in a rocking chair, etc.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's probably one of the few places that there's that much scope.
Yeah. Or you can have Harry Hill ironing in a shed for an hour with no noise. It's just the noise of the iron. Uh,
Oh,
he did that. I think he was in 2021. it was him so the audience sees inside the shed. So he's literally in a shed, but with the doors open, and him just dining, and that's it. No other noise. And so as we've got to this point in the interview, and people have got to know you, without giving away your home address or the address in Edinburgh, where can people find you online?
They can find me at Susan Harrison Comedy on Instagram and on TikTok as well. But Instagram's the place that I am most. And normally I make lots of online sketches, but I haven't had much time during the Fringe. But I'll start that up again once Fringe is over.
And for people that have got to this point in the interview and want a reminder, when and where is your show being performed this year?
Yes, thank you. My show is being performed at the Gilded Balloon at 7:40 at Appleton Tower. Gilded Balloon, Appleton Tower, 7:40. Susan Harrison, should I still be doing this?
And just to remind people, where can people purchase their tickets to see your show?
They can go onto the Gilded Balloon website, which is gildedballoon.co.uk. Or they can go on edfringe.com.
That's a lot of words, and it's
so very slick.
We're bound. I mess up, but that's because I try and say too many words that I forget what they mean. And so, thank you for letting me interview you.
Thank you so much. Lovely to chat to you.
And thank you guys for watching. There might be more from One Comedian 8 Question this year. Who knows? Who knows what might happen? Who knows? Not me, because it's all. I'm trying to think of a really clever analogy, but let's see what this leads. It all leads in the press of a spin, and that's where the analogy ends, because who starts a clever sentence and realise it's not that clever? This guy. So, thank you guys for watching. There should be more from me. That's your own fault, not mine. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.